everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. Today I am amazed and excited to be joined by the wonderfully talented Maya Sain. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
Do you want to tell everybody who's listening a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do as a creative?
Sure. So, hey everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Maya Sain. I am a graphic designer and illustrator from Memphis, Tennessee in the United States. I do a lot of commercial illustration, brand design, and just stuff all over, packaging design and whatnot. Just showing people the happiness and empowerment of minorities, but also just telling the stories of others, because we have so much to share and we have so much in common. So just showing those things. But beyond that, I collaborate with different organizations and companies to make fun things, happy things, and to encourage people to always be themselves.
Oh, I love that so much. This is like so much a big part of why I've been following you and enjoying your work, is that it's like, it's not just beautiful work, which it is, but it also is so powerful and helps so many people feel like, oh, I'm being heard and I'm being seen, and people are sharing my story, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I love that. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, like, what has your creative journey looked like up until now? How have you got to being an illustrator and a brand designer and all the things that you are now?
Oh man, so it's like, how far do you want to go? Do you want to like a documentary Lifetime story, or do you want like
a brief overview of your creative journey?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much at the very beginning, just kidding.
When I was born.
So I'll go back to at least like late high school, like real quick, and then kind of move forward, because I am 25. I'm not that old. So I don't have like this whole like big journey that some people have had. Yeah. But back late high school, I was a painter. I was a traditional artist, and I did not enjoy computers. That was not something I enjoyed. That was not what I wanted to do. And so I was brought up into this class about graphic design, and that led me being interested in like knowing more about graphic design, which led me to doing that in college. So I went to college, got my design degree, and I used it for like 2 years, and then and then things kind of changed. But in the meanwhile, it was such a fun time, because when I got my degree, I went to an amazing art college. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. RIP Memphis College of Art. But they taught me so much and got me pretty much in the door to figure out what I wanted to do. In the midst of being in college, I was at a graphic design internship, and I started to do these infographics, these little characters, and I thought they were so fun. They were so amazing and so lighthearted. And at the time I was like, wow, this is great. How can I do more of this? And at the time I was doing everything in Illustrator, like pen tooling, like doing the nitty gritty.
Wow.
And I lived with 2 illustrators. And my friends were like, hey, you should try drawing this out. And I was like, what? I don't do that. I was very resistant, because at the time I was to the book, and I was just like, no, I'm a designer. Like, I don't make things to be just nice. I solve problems, just being like a old crabby designer. And obviously design is not limited to that. So basically the last 3 years I've been transitioning more so to graphic design to illustration. However, I have a love for both. And so basically going from exploring to having the courage to put my stuff on social media. My friends literally had to threaten me to put my stuff online, because I was just like, I didn't go to school for this. Like, this is not good. Like, what? Like, I can't claim this. And they're like, just put your stuff online. Like, you'll be okay. So put my stuff online. And that was a great way to not only share my art, but just more so bringing awareness of I don't know, when I did art at the time, I did stuff that kind of reflected what was going on in my life. So it was a great outlet, emotional outlet. And I was hoping for the fact that if I did this, someone else would be like, oh, like, I understand what you're talking about. And that's like exactly that. And so from there, 2017 until now, this been that journey, me exploring and keep going and meeting cool people like you.
Amazing. That's so cool. I love that journey. And like, yeah, I'm a trained graphic designer too. That's what I studied. And so it's cool to see someone who's also studied that and then transitioned out of it, because I don't do design anymore either. So we use it for a while and then we move on.
Like, it's so great to know design, because design, I don't know, design thinking, design thinking, but obviously just understanding how things work and how you can, figure out like what's the scope of something, and then figure out ways to do little outlets of how to figure out how to, I don't know, not solve it, but make things better and make things better for people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my degree was literally called visual communication design. And I think I love the fact that, as designers, we do learn how to communicate visually. So even though you're not doing design anymore, like, you're still communicating visually and telling messages and stories through the work that you do. And it's probably, design has helped you to do that, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a better word for it.
And so you said that, over the last couple of years, you've just kind of grown into doing what you're doing now. You started putting your work online. So did you, it wasn't really like okay, I'm going to start making this a business? Was it just more of a gradual journey?
Yes. Yeah. So pretty much my intentions were, I honestly thought I was going to create a business doing graphic design, because in my hometown, my work, I was doing a lot of freelance and just, working with a lot of people, to the point where I was like, this could actually be something. This is cool. However, in the meantime, I'm doing these doodles, I'm doing like these illustrations and whatnot, and I'm like just posting them. I'm like, I don't know, this looks cool. And at one point, this happened either last year or 2018. Wow, years are gone by. But one of those times, pretty much, I noticed this kind of tipping point where people were started asking me more for illustration work than my design work. And I was like, what? I'm like, what? Oh, it was just like freaked me out. I was like, I guess I guess I could do this for you. And then it kind of just kept going, and I just kept saying yes, start doing different things, because illustration can do a lot of things that design do, but it was just fun to see that transition for myself, because I just couldn't believe it, honestly.
That's amazing. And do you think that that came through just like word of mouth, or was it because you were putting more and more illustration work out there? Like, what do you think led to that transition?
The transition definitely started, I think more so word of mouth. This other like fellow Memphian, they're also artists in the community. Lawrence, I'll say Lawrence Matthew, he's great. But he reached out to me at one point and was like, hey, do you hey, you should do some art sometime. And I was like, okay, cool. But the main thing is he works for this like nonprofit called The Collective, and the head director, the executive director, was like, hey, can you do portraits of us? And I'll pay you. And that was like my first commission being paid. So I was like, wow, I'm getting paid for this. And it was crazy, because I went from doing like these doodles to, asking my roommate, I'm like, hey, can I borrow your Wacom tablet? I gotta do this gig just for a couple bucks. Like, I need this. And it was great, because I wasn't really sure like what was going to happen with that. So I did 13 portraits. So I did a lot of like extent learning from that. But I didn't know that they were going to open up their business and it was going to be for that. So, or did I know or just forgot? One of those happened, and I was just like shocked. I was like, oh wow, that's a lot of people seeing my work. And just from that opening, so many people were like, wow, I love your work. Like, can I get something from you? And I was like freaking out, because I'm like, wow, I didn't know this was going to turn out like that. So all by surprise, and just like happy accidents and just like being friendly.
Yeah, nice. It sounds like it's a good lesson in just taking the opportunities that come, even if you're not sure where they're gonna lead, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I want to clarify, like, this is I'll say, like, right now this journey is completely unplanned. Like, everything is happening right now is completely like rogue compared to, like, you know, I'm the type of person, I'm not like that organized, but you know, you have this mindset of what you're going to do. You're like, hey, in like 2 years, 3 years, I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And then when things change off course, you're just freaking out because you just have to, you know, you just have to go with it, you know, unless it's like something terrible. But but with like changing careers, it was just kind of like okay, like maybe illustration can be cool. Let me just go with this and see what happens instead of resisting it. Because for a minute, I was a lot. It's more so like when you go to art college and you paid a lot of money for one thing, you just you just don't want to think like, are you serious? This thing right here on like that I didn't study for is the thing. But after you get over that, like get over the fact that if you have that college degree and you know whatever, just do what makes you happy and what feels natural, and just accept it, especially when things get kind of uncomfortable and weird for you. Just be like, okay, just go through with it.
Go with the flow, just see what happens. Amazing. And so did you I'm gonna presume that because you just kind of started, you didn't do any like intentional branding work for yourself, or you didn't set yourself up as a brand or anything from the beginning?
No. So I did. So like in college, we had to develop like our branding, whatever. But at the time, my intentions were, I was like, hey, after college, I was going to go and find some agency or some like mid-sized large company to work for, and like I was going to be working for them. So it wasn't really, you know, necessary to have like a huge like great brand. Like it started off with just me being like, I like these things, like you know, like if I draw something, I'm influenced by this, so let me pull this from here. And my branding just kind of fell in place, but obviously just very scattered, just all over the place. Until recently in May, I took a class with Meg Lewis. It was
nice.
A personal branding class. It was amazing. She's
full-time
amazing.
you? Is it full-time you? Yeah.
It's amazing. And basically Meg did this very like, I don't know, it was like a very like unconventional way of like figuring out like, hey, your brand is this, like this is who you are. Like your brand shouldn't be like this manufactured thing to make you look great. Like your brand is you, so just pull from you and what inspires you. And so during May, I kind of really figured that out, like all the colors, typeface, whatnot. These are things I was already using, by the way. It was just like put in my face, like this is what you've been inspired by. And it's still growing. I'm still like trying to work on my branding, whatnot, but I feel like I already have an aesthetic that I just recently started to appreciate, because at first I was like, I'm just me, like what like
now you're just a refined version of
little polished.
I noticed that you obviously like, well, on Instagram anyway, you have your like the illustration of you as your profile photo, and then you have like the your highlights are all color coded, and you're using like the like chunky retro font, which is awesome. So are those the ones that you've kind of recently brought together?
Somewhat. Like I'm still like in the refinement mode, so like those colors are about to change, like very slightly. Very slightly, because I had the color palette. I knew that obviously my colors are very close to the rainbow. I was just like, I love all those colors. But my brand initially started off with the mint, black and white, and I had this like really weird gray at the time. I think I kind of still use it. It's kind of phased out a little bit. But yeah, that was like my main branding I started off with. But then gradually, while illustrating, I noticed after a couple illustrations, I'm like, man, I really like these colors.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many times you move throughout the color wheel. It was like those colors, saturated, unsaturated, muted. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is what I like. And then I'm always a fan of Cooper Black. That's the typeface that I'm inspired by. The typeface that I use for my brand is actually really cool. It's called Doyle. It's basically like a modern Cooper Black, and they made like these little small adjustments that are really nice. So yeah, it's kind of like very 1970s happy.
I love that.
Yeah. Type of stuff.
Amazing. And so obviously like you said, branding is about you and who you are, and so it's not just about your like the colors and fonts and everything, but you also are really well known for like those characters that you mentioned, the style of your work, the colors that you're using in your work, and like the messages that you send and everything. So how have you kind of grown your style as an artist over the last few years and kind of built that recognizable style, I suppose?
That's so cool to think about. It's like, wow.
People recognize my work.
Yeah, that was crazy because I remember I was telling my roommate, I was like, I need a style. Like, I'm just doing whatever. And just my roommate Tunky, he like just looked at me and he was just like, you already have a style. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, what? So like sometimes you're doing it and you don't really like, you know, understand the power that's in your hand. But pretty much the my characters, the way they look now is really influenced by the fact that when I started out, I was doing it in Adobe Illustrator. So I was using these grids. I was using these very crazy grids and like curving them and whatnot. Very technical. It's very long. I regret. I regret I started, but I got somewhere. I made improvement. Yeah. But I love the like kind of, I don't know, it was just like very simple, because that's the thing. With my work, I just wanted to tell as much information as possible with like the least amount of content. And obviously that's the same way you kind of do with making like logos and like whatnot. You're trying to make like this idea with not using like a lot of information, a lot of detail. So literally from me transitioning to design, influenced that. I'm like, okay, instead of this having like so much texture, maybe I should make this just like a solid black in like color theory, and like, you know, choosing colors that people would respond to. Well, I'm like, yay for me, but I'm like, wait, other people have to like this color too. But it came to the fact of just like trial and error, and like I said, after doing the branding class, just figuring out like, okay, like these colors make me happy, and these colors you know, show like, you know, progressiveness and, you know, new ideas and like stuff that basically aligned with I guess my beliefs, quote unquote, value. And it just kind of just happened. I realized that my work really just aligned with what I was going to do anyway, even if I wasn't going to make money. And nice. And it's just so I'm influenced by so many people, so that's why like I love talking to people, getting to know people. I'm very, I don't know how odd that sounds, very like observant of people, like haircuts and like, you know, if someone like eats a certain thing, they love a certain thing, like just those little things that bring people joy. And that really influenced my work, because I'm like, I want to show those moments where people are being human, not obviously being worked to death by corporations and whatnot. Like who we are when we have free time, who we are by ourselves with our loved ones, and just like being able to showcase that. I don't know, I'm rambling, but like
no, it's great.
But it's just the fact that I just wanted to capture that moment of like that empowerment of like, okay, maybe I'm not in a great situation, but if I think positive and I do great things for myself, I'll get to this point. And I think that was another thing. I don't know if I explained this much to people, but a while back I was dealing with, not even a while back, very recently, I just got over it, but I was dealing with like I would say like mild kind of severe depression. So for me, you know, drawing my characters or whatnot, it was more so me addressing certain things that made me feel less alone. However, it's just like trying really hard to focus on the positive things in life, and just keeping a mindset on that and how that would look. And so it was just very funny. Like, you'll see me now, I'm trying to get out of it, wearing a whole bunch of black, but my but my work is like super colorful and like, you know, smiling and whatnot. And actually, people don't know this either. I think I mentioned it like, I think 2018, but the way that my characters, if their eyes are open, that means they're like confident and like they're sure of themselves. If their like eyes are closed, that means they're healing or like trying to figure something out. And like these were just like little symbols for myself as I was doodling to myself, like, hey, maybe I want a better day, let me draw like these eyes closed, and like this is what I feel like if I got that cheesecake or whatever after this terrible breakup or something like that. And it just started off from there and just kind of blossomed. And now, sadly, we're getting kind of political. I mean, but it's just like just expressing yourself and just like getting out there those ideas that's in your brain. So
Amazing. I love it. And I love the power of like illustration and art, in that it's kind of powerful for you, but then also for the people like viewing it, right? So for you it's an exercise, and like you say, like expressing yourself and leaving those signals to yourself, but then also other people who see your work are like, oh yeah, I've been in that situation, I've had a breakup and then needed some cheesecake, like I've been there.
And that's the thing, like when people are posting online and they're doing all this stuff, I mean, obviously some people are for the clout, but but for other reasons, you're just reaching out to people because you want to make sure that you're not alone in this experience. And that's the thing, throughout this life, we just need to, you know, just be reminded that we're all human and we all go through similar stuff, different extents, but like we all go through similar stuff, and we should appreciate it, understand it, cherish it, because all of us are very valuable, all of us are lovable, all of us are, you know, capable of finding happiness and pleasure and just like fun times. And it's just like you have to be reminded of that, you know, by someone else or sometimes yourself. You know, we have that spark of joy.
And sometimes all it takes is like scrolling through your feed and seeing, you know, a piece of your work, and you might be having an awful day, and then see a piece that feels relevant or you can relate to, and you're like, oh, you know, it can change someone's day, which is so powerful. And like you say, make them feel joyful or happy or uplift them or just make them feel not alone.
And it's crazy because like you said, looking at other people's work, it's funny that my work, I guess, is so happy. I am a happy person, by the way. I'm very joyful. But who really influenced me, honestly, was Meg, because Meg has such happy content and just, you know, just joyful and silly all the time. And that really influenced me to want to talk about serious content, however, like in a way that is approachable to other people, and also in a way that is like, hey, like, don't be down about it, like it's a thing, cherish it regardless what the situation is. It's like, cherish it, figure out what you're going to learn from this, and then have some fun, like go to the next step. And she really influenced that. But obviously, me looking like Abby Lawson, like, you know, Nina Simone, and like, you know, like all these different artists, and be like, oh man, like you guys definitely are like my blueprint of like, you know, how to be happy and how to show humanity through like simplicity. I don't know. It's very, very
it's awesome. And I think, like you say, Meg does such a great job of talking about really heavy topics, but in like a really approachable and fun way. And I think the same of your work, like you talk a lot about really quite big and heavy things, from like I wrote down from like protecting the bees to Black Lives Matter to education to PCOS, mental health, like all of these things are like, some of them are really big topics that can feel quite heavy and scary, but creating work that is kind of lighter or more fun or approachable is a really cool way to get people to start talking about it and feel like it's okay to start thinking about it or speaking out themselves about it, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, because like you just have to like figure out a way to get people to think differently. I just know as an adult, like some people are very open and they're willing to try different things, but like majority of us, like once you kind of settle or hone in on something, that's the way you like it, or that's the thing you kind of believe in. But if you do it in a very like odd way of like bringing up something or like figuring out a way that like, that's kind of like that, wow, like I never thought of it that way, it just makes it very fun to talk about, and you just can kind of casually talk to people about it, and just like, it's just like, hey, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Hooray, it's terrible, but let me tell you about it, because it's like, if you know about it, then you're able to better understand people who have it, and you're able to love them and be empathetic, and to whoever you meet. And for example, I made a piece, it was called Fresh Fill, and it was about when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, you can get this condition called hirsutism, and it's about women who are able to grow beards. I am technically able to grow a great beard, and I'm proud of it, actually. But trying to explain that to people, obviously, while we're in this, a huge society that's like hair on women's gross, and you're just like, no, it's not. And then it's just kind of like, okay, let me put a woman and like and a kiwi together. Like people love kiwis. Kiwis is great and like refreshing and nice, and just like, hey, like do that and put those two, and people are like, wow, that's so cool, and you're just like, here you go. It's like an introduction, but in a weird way, and it makes it friendly. So you just gotta do it that way. Think outside.
Yeah, no, I love that. And like, personally for me, I have relations who have PCOS and I have endo myself. And so like when I saw that you were talking about it, I was like, yes, I love that. And it's just nice that you can see other people who have been in the same situations. And I like, seeing people talking any like reproductive issues, I'm like, oh, thank God somebody's talking about it, and like, thank
someone
God
understands.
Somebody else understands how I'm feeling all the time, and they've been in that situation, and so it's amazing, like you said, to just, if you can get people to just start thinking about it, or to just even know about it. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about PCOS, so to introduce them to it through some illustration of a girl with a kiwi is like amazing.
Let's talk about this. How cool is this? And just like doing it in a way where people can just, hey, why is this girl with the kiwi? Wow, she compliments that kiwi. And it's just like those little things make people receptive and just more willing to listen to your story. And it's like, it's not just my story, it's so many other people's story. Like there's so many other women who are out here who don't feel seen, like having PCOS is very hard. It definitely sometimes even like interferes with business. Like when me, like, like, I don't know if you have, I think it's like endo. Meat birth. That. That's horrible. And it's just gotten worse for me recently. And it's just like, how do I explain this to people the best I can? And honestly, that's when I made that piece with the girl in the dirt with the spiky cactus fruit, because I was like, this is how it feels. It feels like you're in sand and you can't do anything about it, and you have this terrible fruit that keeps stabbing you. And it's crazy because like all types of people are like, I love this piece. I like there's a guy who like I went to the gym and he was just like, he was the guy I just never thought who liked my work. And like, I love your stuff. This is the piece I like. And I just thought to myself, I was like, that's so cool because I don't think you would ever go on, I don't know, where did people usually go for like medical research? Like, you just go online. Let me Google this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think you'll ever research PCOS, but the fact that this has you interested in this visual, I can tell you more about it. It just, it's like a conversation.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so you said that, being inspired by Meg, kind of encouraged you to start talking about more of these kind of topics through your work. So has it kind of happened over time?
Yes.
Yeah.
At first I was very reluctant to, I guess putting my voice into my work because as a designer, that's not it's like at first off, it's like my brain like was like wired to be like, this is not about you. So when I was doing my personal work, illustrational work, I was like, wow, I can do literally anything I want. Like I can, like this could be about a piece of pizza and like I don't know, it could literally be anything. And it'll just be my idea or how I felt, and it's okay. So yeah, it definitely started off gradually. I took the time to be like, hey, I want to talk about this thing. How can I symbolize this, but not make it obvious and make it kind of quirky, And at first it was just like me getting used to having that. And then once I kind of grasped it, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like gaining power. You're like, yeah.
Yes.
And I just started just implementing these like little Easter eggs in my work that just pertains to different situations. I know at some point I want to play around with numbers and like do stuff like that. Cool. And just like, just significance in like little pieces and here and there. But yeah, it's a gradual little thing.
And I think you can kind of go back through your Instagram feed and you can see kind of the more and more, especially lately, there's a lot, but it's amazing. And so do you think that now people are coming drawn to your work or recognize you because of kind of like the messages that you're telling and the style of your work itself? Do you think people are kind of drawn to that?
Yes. I had like for a long time, because as an artist, we have to like constantly build up our confidence like in our work, because it's kind of like, oh, your contact, like why me, but it came to a point where I was just like, oh crap, like I'm doing something that you really enjoy. And I realized that and this is regardless who you are, you can just be starting out, or you can be like a super experienced, I won't even say illustrator, just someone who draws. But what you do is yours, is what you do. Like no one, like if you obviously don't follow like a formula, like, like do exactly like someone else, and you add your little quirkiness, like no one can replicate that. Yeah. And so once you kind of figure that out, you're like, oh, no one can do that the way I can. That's kind of like, no one can do it the way I can. And so you start to understand more like why certain companies or people are reaching out to you. They want your aesthetic, they want your voice, because you make them have this feeling of happiness, or you give them that like encouragement to be like, hey, this is what we believe in. So yeah, like it was a very gradual thing. People came to me and I was like, yeah, I can share your story. And it's just like collaborating and just really just me figuring out how to interpret like what that person or company might want. However, just adding my little, like, I say like sparkliness to it.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. I'm sure that your graphic design history or experience is helpful in that process, right? With working with clients and understanding what they need and how to tell that story. And then you use your illustration magic to to bring that story.
Yes. That's essentially what I do. Like,
Yeah.
still to this day, if someone comes to me for any reason, my brain does like play both. I'm like devil's
Yeah.
like advocate. I'm like, hey, I want to do that really fun thing. However, if we do this thing, you're able to do this platform, which would gain this like very like strategic. But at the end of the day, it works out, and I'm glad that I have both like knowledge now. Like, I'm growing in both, and it's just wonderful to see how they work hand in hand. I call design obviously illustration. I think they're like sisters. I think they're just like one is definitely more technical than the other, but I mean both can be technical. It does, like, it's very wishy-washy. It's whatever you want. And yeah, when people come to me, I'm trying to figure out a way when they leave me, or they, you know, obviously leave the project, they're better than, you know, when I first met them, you know, or they have a story to tell, or, you know, have something to give to someone else to make them feel better. So it just works out on, you know, on its own. But yeah, having those two assets have been like a super cool thing.
It's probably kind of like you were saying, like no one can do it like you can, right? And that's part of your magic, right? Is that you have that perfect combo of experience that it gives you your special magic. I don't know what else to say.
Sparkle.
Yeah, which is awesome. And so what do you think has been, through this process, the last few years of doing illustration and design and doing your own thing, what do you think has been the biggest lesson that you've learned about like branding your passion, turning your creativity into a business?
I think, again, the biggest thing that I've learned was your brand should be definitely a reflection of you. It should be authentic to who you are. Like, you can't, you like, hey, I mean, you can. You can do whatever you want, honestly. But let's say if I'm like a unicorn and I'm like, no, I want to be a horse and I'm going to stay in this barn, it just doesn't work out. You just it just doesn't feel authentic, and you can tell, because then like things are off, your messaging's off, and like all this stuff. So when you just accept the fact that you're like, hey, I really, like, for example, I love robots, I'm like, at some point I'm gonna put that in there, it's fine. Like, you know, you know, and it doesn't have to be like me drawing a robot. I can do something like, you know, play with like the texture of steel, or like play around with numbers, play around with bars, do whatever. But like once you can like figure out those things, you just can pull it together and it just feels right. And you'll know you're on the right track, because you'll start to feel better. You're just like, this is what I want. You're like that, I don't know, you're like that 18th century like artist who actually found what they want to be before they died. You're like, oh my God, I found the masterpiece. Let me copy that. And sometimes you do a piece. I know for a fact that I recently made this illustration with what did I call it? Goodness, I feel terrible now. But I did an image of the boy with the yellow bubble coat, and he was amongst some flowers and just enjoying himself. And that was the portrait that I was like, wow, I got, like, that was my aha, like, illustration. Even though it was for a client. So I'm like, oh, I can't like, you know, truly claim it myself. But that's it was just the fact that me just accepting things I enjoy, and obviously took reference from like that illustration. I literally took images from my phone that I took while like walking in the park, or I like fashion bubble coats. I pulled it all together, and it's just like, boom, you create this creation that no one else can create. They could try it as much as they want to. It's not the same because you did it. And so you just have that confidence, and you just start build off of that, and it just works its way out. After you reach that point, you just need to kind of buffer it out, like very slowly, like a metalsmith person, just like treat it well. Don't go and like zoom off unless you're like very confident, but like play it off, like, just rub it out, see what else you can add to the blend, and just see if it works out, and see if it represents what you want to do or what you want to say. So
yeah, amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for that lesson and advice. I think anybody listening is going to really take some amazing value from that, so thank you. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you, anything you've got going on right now that you want to share?
Oh man, okay, so let me see. I'm trying to think, like, what can I share right now? So first thing first, right now I am currently working on my website, so you cannot find me on the internet like traditionally, but that will be coming later this fall. I'm super excited. The reason why I kind of waited so long was because obviously, like, a whole bunch of projects kind of swooped in, and I was like, oh wait, and I went way with current. But you can find me on Instagram at the official Maya Sain. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. I need to be more active. I'm going to be more active. That's happening this last quarter / 2021. So Facebook, obviously, Maya Sain, MIASAIE. And obviously you'll probably have that typed out.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in below.
Yeah, you're great. And then you can find me on Twitter as the Maya Sain. I'm just on there every once in a while, but I love keeping people updated and just, like, I don't know, just like interacting with people. I always hope that someone like message me and like just be like, hey, like, I'm trying to work on this. I'm like, go ahead, like tell me, like, I'm interested in what people do. So reach out to me anytime on social media. I would love to hear from you. Also, projects I'm working on, I have a couple of cool things happening, super cool things. I'm working on a couple books. It's cool. Like, things are getting cool. Not for myself, but like for other people.
Still cool.
But really cool books I'm really proud of. This first book is actually for educational purposes, so like
amazing.
I'm helping like kids to read, and it's just like like might as well, like, have a cause with it. And some apparel stuff is happening next year. I'm going to be collaborating more, like 2021. I'm like probably going to go full force with like merch, prints, posters, everything that everyone has been asking me for, and I've been terrible delivering. I'm just like, I was just like, I would, but I only have $5. And like, no, I'm kidding. It was just more so, I felt like instead of being reactive and like, just like, at one point I was just making these like one-off pieces and I couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
I decided to be more business minded and obviously like push more of that, and so I can actually do collections and like give you guys like a wide range of work. So that's the things to look forward to, and I can't wait to share.
Me too. I might, man. Yes, I already have one of your t-shirts, so I'm ready for more. Yes. Bring it on. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for this whole conversation, for sharing your story, and for sharing your where we can all find more of your work and what you've got going on. I can't wait to see what happens next, and I'm sure that people are going to find so much amazing value from this conversation. So just a huge thank you, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, and I'll see you guys later. Talk to you soon. Bye. See you later.